What's up, guys? Vance here from MyLatinLife. And if you're new here, we cover everything you need to know about living abroad, gaining residency, and even obtaining citizenship in different countries in Latin America. Today, we're diving into an exciting topic: how to obtain Ecuadorian citizenship by descent. Whether you have Ecuadorian roots or are just curious about the process, this video is for you. Ecuador is a really powerful citizenship and passport because it's basically the only citizenship in Latin America where you can claim citizenship by descent all the way to great-grandchildren, so 4 generations. So either maybe you're watching this video because you have Ecuadorians in your family tree, or maybe you're interested in obtaining Ecuador residency and later citizenship, naturalizing as an Ecuador citizen because you're planning ahead and you're thinking, well, if I get Ecuador citizenship, I can pass this on to my great-grandchildren. And what an amazing gift to be able to give them, because hopefully you're going to have, 50 plus great-grandchildren. So an incredible thing. So let's get into the details of this video regarding Ecuador citizenship by descent. So first things first, what exactly is citizenship by descent? Essentially, it's a process that allows you to claim citizenship in a country based on your ancestry. Many countries offer this option as a way to strengthen ties within their diaspora, and Ecuador is no exception. If you have Ecuadorian parents, grandparents, or even great-grandparents, you might be eligible for Ecuadorian citizenship. In this video, I'll explain who qualifies and how you can apply. So, who qualifies for Ecuadorian citizenship by descent? Well, a key factor is having a direct bloodline connection to an Ecuadorian citizen. This means that if one or both of your parents were born in Ecuador, you are automatically eligible for citizenship. However, Ecuadorian law also extends this eligibility to the descendants of Ecuadorians, which includes grandchildren and even great-grandchildren. This is super powerful because there are not a lot of countries in the world that go back to great-grandchildren, okay? So for grandchildren, if one or both of your grandparents were born in Ecuador, you can apply for citizenship. The process requires you to provide proof of your grandparents' Ecuadorian nationality, as well as proof of your own relationship to them. This might include birth certificates, marriage certificates, and any other relevant documentation that establishes your lineage. When it comes to great-grandchildren, the process is similar, but may involve additional steps, especially if your family has been living outside of Ecuador for several generations. You'll need to trace your ancestry back to your Ecuadorian great-grandparent and provide all necessary documentation to prove the connection. While it might take some extra effort to gather these documents, the good news is that Ecuadorian authorities recognize the right of descendants, even several generations removed, to claim your citizenship. And by the way, at MyLatinLife, we can help you acquire all the documents that you need, whether it's documents in Ecuador, documents abroad in Canada, the USA, Europe, whatever, other countries in Latin America, church records, government records. When you work with us for your Ecuador naturalization, we can help you get all these documents as part of the process for sure, because it's hard to do by yourself. So now, what if your Ecuadorian ancestor wasn't born in Ecuador but became a citizen through naturalization? The good news is that naturalized Ecuadorian citizens also have the ability to pass on their citizenship to their children, and in some cases to their great-grandchildren and grandchildren. So if your parent or a grandparent became an Ecuadorian citizen through naturalization, meaning they're still considered Ecuadorian for the purposes of citizenship by descent. This means they weren't born in Ecuador, they naturalized in Ecuador through the process of living there a certain number of years. And I'm sure the qualifications have changed over time. It was probably different, back in the day. Right now, you're looking at about a 5-year path to citizenship if you were to start the Ecuadorian citizenship process today and, starting with residency. So this means that if your parent was naturalized in Ecuador before your birth, you can claim Ecuadorian citizenship just as if they had been born there. The process requires similar documentation, including proof of naturalization, in addition to the standard birth certificates and identification documents. For grandchildren of naturalized Ecuadorians, the process can be slightly more complex, especially if the naturalization occurred several decades ago. However, as long as you can provide the necessary documents, such as the naturalization certificate of your Ecuadorian ancestor and your own birth certificate, you can still apply for citizenship. It's important to keep in mind that the same principle applies if your Ecuadorian ancestor was recognized as a citizen at the time of your parents' birth. You are eligible to claim citizenship by descent. This works similarly in other processes, such as Italian citizenship by descent. Effectively, if the parent was Ecuadorian before you were born or before that next generation was born, that citizenship is deemed to have been passed on. Okay? And then there's even the more complicated issue of, well, what if the children are already born? Like, let's just say you right now listening to this, you're an adult, you have a family, you have kids, and you were to get Ecuadorian citizenship. Can your kids then get Ecuadorian citizenship even though they're already born? And our sources say that yes, they can, which is really, really powerful. Okay, so now let's talk about documentation you'll need to gather. The application process is heavily reliant on proof of your Ecuadorian lineage, so it's crucial to have all your paperwork in order. Here's what you'll need. First, you'll need your own birth certificate, along with the birth certificates of your Ecuadorian parent, grandparent, or great-grandparent. This establishes the direct bloodline connection. Additionally, you'll need proof of your ancestor's Ecuadorian nationality, which could be in the form of a passport, a cédula, which is an ID card, or a citizenship certificate. If your ancestor's birth was registered in Ecuador, that could also serve as proof. In some cases, you may also need to provide marriage certificates, especially if there were name changes or if the lineage connection comes through marriage. Your own passport from your current country of citizenship is also required to verify your identity. Lastly, depending on your specific situation, you might need to submit an affidavit, which is a sworn certificate proving your descent. Collecting these documents can take some time, particularly if you're dealing with older records, so it's wise to start the process as early as possible. Now let's talk about the application process. So once you have all your documents, it's time to submit your application. The process typically begins by visiting the nearest Ecuadorian consulate if you're living abroad. If you're already in Ecuador, you can go to the civil registry. After submitting your documents, they'll be verified by the consulate or civil registry. This verification step is crucial because the authorities need to ensure that all the documents are authentic and that they correctly establish your Ecuadorian descent. Following document verification, your application will be reviewed by Ecuadorian authorities. This review process can take several months, so be prepared for some waiting. If your application is approved, the next step is to take an oath of allegiance to Ecuador, which is a formal declaration of your commitment to the country. Finally, after taking the oath, you'll receive your Ecuadorian citizenship certificate, officially making you a citizen, and then you can apply for a passport. So let's talk about the benefits of Ecuadorian citizenship. Now that you know how to apply, let's discuss why you might want to go through this process. Obviously, it's going to require a little bit of an investment in terms of paying for documents and stuff like that, but obviously it's well worth it. Ecuadorian citizenship comes with several significant benefits. One of the biggest advantages is that Ecuador allows dual citizenship, so you won't have to give up your current nationality. This means that you can enjoy the rights and privileges of both your home country and Ecuador, making this a no-brainer, basically a citizenship with no downside. Another perk is visa-free travel. As an Ecuadorian citizen, you'll have visa-free or visa-on-arrival access to many countries, including all of South America, which is great if you love to travel. Additionally, as a citizen, you'll have access to Ecuador's public education and healthcare systems, they're high quality and very affordable. Also, obtaining citizenship by descent can deepen your connection to Ecuadorian culture and heritage. Whether you're reconnecting with your family roots or simply embracing a new chapter in your life, becoming an Ecuadorian citizen offers a unique opportunity to be part of the Ecuadorian community at large. And then for aspiring sovereign individuals, people who are on this path to trying to get multiple passports, well, Ecuador citizenship has a lot of benefits. It's part of the Andean community, which gives you rights, additional rights in Colombia, in Bolivia, and Peru, and maybe Chile as well. I'll have to look it up. I'll have to make a dedicated video about the Andean community as well. And then Ecuador is also part of the Mercosur, meaning that you're going to get residency rights in all of South America. If you have an Ecuadorian passport, you're actually able to go live in Argentina, where you can just show up in Argentina and say, hey, I want to be an Argentine resident, and they'll give you residency on the spot. And the same goes for everywhere in South America. If you have Ecuador citizenship, you can immediately go move to Brazil or Colombia, as we mentioned, or Paraguay. You have access to all of South America, which is huge. So don't think of Ecuador citizenship as only giving you rights in Ecuador. It actually gives you rights in all of South America due to the treaties and agreements down there, including Mercosur and the Andean community. Also, regarding visa-free travel, I mentioned it a little bit, but one of the cool things about Ecuador citizenship is that Ecuador has visa-free to China. It's one of the only countries in all of the Americas that has visa-free to China. The island of Grenada comes to mind as well, and maybe there's one or two others. Maybe Nicaragua, I got to check off the top of my head. But the cool thing about Ecuador is it's a little bit less Western aligned and a little bit more aligned with kind of that Russia, China block of countries, Iran. And so you're going to get some more visa-free travel to these countries that you wouldn't otherwise get. Like I would honestly argue that Ecuador citizenship is worth it just for visa-free China. That's a pretty valuable thing that not a lot of countries have. Okay? So having a passport that it's aligned with the West, but it also kind of it's like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So it's going to help you sort of diversify the trade blocks and the relationships of countries that you have access to. Okay? So let's wrap it up with some final tips. So before we wrap up, here are a few tips for those of you considering applying for the Ecuador citizenship by descent. First, start the process early. Gather the required documentation as quick as possible. It's going to be time consuming. Sometimes it's going to take time to get some of those documents, especially for the longer cases where you're going through a grandparent or great grandparent, because each additional generation obviously means more generations that you have to get documents for, more documentation, and it's going to make it take a little bit longer to get everything. So second, stay organized by keeping all your documents in a safe place and making copies of everything. Create maybe a folder in your Google Drive, scan everything, have everything there, maybe make a little Excel checklist to make sure what you have, what's missing, so that you're on top of it and you're constantly making progress. Third, don't hesitate to ask for help if you need it. Consult with MyLatinLife. We're experts at residency and citizenship in Latin America, and we can make this thing happen a lot faster than you'd be able to do by yourself and with a lot higher chance of success. So maybe you don't have time for this. Maybe, it's just a lot better to work with an expert. It's really not that expensive, and it removes so much headache and so much kind of mental brain energy. So just work with MyLatinLife, and we can help make all this possible for you. So if you're a Ecuadorian descendant, absolute no-brainer, book a call with MyLatinLife. There's going to be a link in the description where you can book a call with us to get the whole process started, and we're going to get that Ecuadorian passport in your hands as soon as possible. That's it for today's video. If you found this information helpful, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insights on citizenship, residency, and living abroad in Latin America. If you have any questions or if you've gone through the process yourself, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.